curious, analytical tone. This animation illustrates a basic mechanic of human language. When we have two distinct objects separated by a wide gap, we use a signal line, a name, to cross that void. Naming conventions are dualistic mechanisms. They bridge the gap between two separate entities. A name is functionally necessary when there is physical or spiritual space to navigate. As the caller and the called close the distance, the effort required to signal drops. The act of calling out confirms that the person shouting and the person listening are separate. If naming relies on separation, we have to ask what happens to a word when the distance between two entities collapses. Take a look at the ancient script on this fragmented parchment. It contains the tetragrammaton, the four-letter Hebrew name of God. During the Second Temple period, the exact phonetic pronunciation of this word was lost to history. The traditional academic consensus explains this loss through a concept called siag la Torah, a hedge around the law. Scribes built a protective barrier around the name to prevent the desecration of a transcendent creator by human lips. Notice the dense columns of text in the Codex Sinaiticus. This rigid textual preservation replaced phonetic speech. Over generations, the protective barrier of the hedge caused the spoken pronunciation of God to fade into silence. Historians often read this silence as a symptom of God becoming distant and untouchable. But we need to question if that silence truly signifies a withdrawal. The hedge marks the point where distance ceased to exist. The interface between humanity and the divine shifted with the Incarnation. God moved from an external phonetic vibration in the air to an internal habitation. Watch how this dark ink dissolves into living cells. This represents the mechanic of the Word becoming flesh. The primary medium for the divine shifted away from a textual script and integrated into human biology. In Pauline theology, this is understood through the concept of the indwelling spirit. The physical body of the believer becomes the new location for God. With the divine inhabiting human tissue, the external address becomes redundant. The vibration of living replaced the vibration of speaking. This animated closed-loop circuit shows the logic of union with God. Summoning God across a distance when he is already inside the believer creates a logical contradiction. It's a recursive redundancy, like dialing your own phone number while holding the device to your ear. This reality explains the historical shift toward using the word Adonai to refer to the divine. Adonai translates to master or lord. It is a title denoting functional ownership and operational authority. Replacing the tetragrammaton with Adonai acknowledges the master who is currently operating the human vessel from within. It points to a union rather than a vast distance. This wide view of the Temple Mount represents the locational requirements of the Old Covenant. The name was spoken exclusively inside a physical room, the Holy of Holies. In the New Covenant, the human body replaces that stone architecture as the temple. The hedge protects the interiority of God. We see this same truth in apophatic theology, the tradition of understanding God through silence. Theologians call it the dazzling darkness, a space where the most intimate knowledge of God bypasses phonetic language. The silence surrounding the name is an overwhelming excess of presence. The collective physical bodies of believers have superseded the dictionary. They are now the vocal cords and pronunciation of God on earth. This silence, which began as a historical barrier in the Second Temple, found its ultimate purpose in the cross. The finished work turned the missing word into a somatic reality, forcing humanity to look past the text and recognize the indwelling spirit. Notice this single human breath condensing on glass. The hedge is the quiet confidence of a bride who no longer calls out to her groom. The pronunciation was lost so that the presence could be found.